driving a sharp drop in global investment flows. UNTAD World Investment Report 2020 estimates that global FDI projection will decrease up to 40% in 2020. Should this prolong, developing countries will be most at stake. IMF records large capital outflows of $83 billion from developing countries since the beginning of the crisis. Developing countries in Asia are also projected to see FDI decline up to 45%. Amidst this pandemic, Indonesia continues to work hard to simplify regulation and bureaucracy, provide incentive, and promote investment opportunities in Indonesia. Investment is a key instrument that can contribute to economic recovery in Indonesia. The Indonesian ambassadors, consul generals, consul, and diplomats have to work harder not only to promote investment opportunities in Indonesia, but also to ensure its realization. Therefore, last Wednesday, the 1st of July, I met Pak Bahlil Lahadalia, Chairman of Indonesia Investment Coordinating Board, and his team, to discuss joint collaboration to attract foreign investment in Indonesia. I also spoke with Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs, Minister of State-Owned Enterprises, and for sure, we'll talk soon with the Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment. And then on Monday, the 6th of July, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has also launched a dedicated team for the acceleration of economic recovery, which will also undertake efforts to pursue concrete investment projects. So, colleagues, understanding the importance of this issue, today I'm joined by Pak Bahlil Lahadalia, and I'm confident that Pak Bahlil will explain in further details regarding investment policies in Indonesia. I'm also happy to have Professor Wiku Adisasmito with us today to convey some further updates on COVID-19. Colleagues, as for today, I will be very brief. So first, my update on the Rohingya people in Indonesia. As I mentioned to you last week, together with the National Task Force for Refugees, I deployed a team to Lok Semawi to strengthen coordination with local government, UNHCR, IOM, and other stakeholders. UNHCR has started its registration process since 5th July 2020. The process is expected to finish by 12th July. And as of today, 65 out of 99 migrants have been registered by UNHCR Indonesia. It is scheduled that by the end of this week, all of them will be moved to their new shelter at Gedung Balai Latihan Kerja Lok Semawi. Indonesian Red Cross Lok Semawi, supported by ICRC and IOM, has also started the Restoring Family Link program to assist migrants to reconnect them with their families. There are 25 minors, ages between 5 until 17 years old, without family in this group. As I mentioned in my previous update regarding 2 migrants who are treated in the local military health facility in Korem, they are now recovered and have returned to their shelter. In this context, Health services in the shelter are also provided to the migrants with mild cases. Meanwhile, Chutmutia Loksamawe Hospital is also on standby to anticipate migrants with serious condition. Colleagues, my second issue, I'm very happy to update you with the Indonesia-Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership has officially entered into force on the 5th July 2020. This SEPA was signed on the 4th of March 2019, last year, and ratified by the enactment of Law Number 1/2020 on the 28th February 2020. The IA-CEPA not only covers trade agreement on goods, services, and investment, but also cooperation on vocational education training, higher education, and health sector. With the IA-CEPA, Indonesia will benefit, among others, in the provision of opportunities for Indonesian export to grow with the elimination of Australian import duties to 0%. This will benefit Indonesian export to Australia, such as textile, automotive products, electronics, fish products, and communication tools. The IA-CEPA also provides a more conducive environment for greater Australian investment in Indonesia, including in the field of higher education. And through the active implementation of IA-CEPA, there is a potential for Indonesian GDP to increase by 0.23% or an additional of Australian dollar 1.65 billion per year. All these developments are expected to contribute in effort to accelerate the economic recovery. Colleagues, my last point is regarding the update of the status of the Indonesian returnees as per yesterday, 8 July 2020. From 18 March to 8 July, 124,193 Indonesians have returned, which is an additional of 2,555 people from last week's number, or an increase of 2.1%. 71.4% of the total returnees, or 88,710 Indonesians, have returned from Malaysia. This decreased an average returnee per week from around 2,500 to 1,600. It is also due to Malaysia reopening under recovery movement order control per 10 June. While 20.1% or 25,039 Indonesian crews have returned from 35 countries and arriving in Indonesia through 5 entry points in Jakarta and Bali. An additional of 390 people, or a 1.6% increase compared to last week. Meanwhile, another 1,444 Indonesians have returned via self-repatriation from 55 countries. This means our repatriation effort have expanded to more than 22 countries in just 4 months. In regard to our assistance to Indonesian abroad in need, between 18 March until 8 of July, globally, Indonesian missions in all regions have managed to provide 526,587 packages of basic needs. Particularly in Malaysia, our embassy, consulate general, and consulate, working together with the Indonesian diaspora, have distributed a total of 451,325 packages. Of course, our embassies, consulate general and consulate will continue to monitor the development through all our mission abroad. So I believe I have conveyed my point, and now I would like to invite Pak Bahlil to brief you on investment issue. And after Pak Bahlil, then I would like directly to invite Pak Wiku Adhisasmito to brief you on further updates on COVID-19. Now, I would like to invite Pak Bahlil. Pak Bahlil, dipersilakan. Thank you very much, colleague.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Following the direction of the Madam Minister with regard to how to encourage investment during the COVID-19 pandemic. First, we from BKPM have worked closely in cooperation with ambassadors around the world and also BKPM office around the world to cooperate in accelerating the coming of foreign direct investment to Indonesia. First of all, let me give you a highlight about investment coordination in Indonesia and what are the incentives that are provided by the government for the foreign investors. Firstly, the investment realization in first quarter of 2020 reached 210.7 trillion Indonesian rupiah. FDI contributes to 98 trillion Indonesian rupiah, while the DDI, domestic direct investment, contributes to 53.53% from the total value, or 112.7 trillion Indonesian rupiah. The decreasing number with regard to FDI due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and from the target of 2020 of investment realization, around 886.1 trillion Indonesian rupiah. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, we have to make a revision to the target. We from BKPM are focusing on FDI, the new FDI, and also trying to assist to tackle the investment issues which are in suspension during the last 3 to 4 years that still have some issues with regard to the land and licensing issues. And now we have succeeded to facilitate around 410 trillion investment, including investment from Rosneft, Vale, and Hyundai. We have solved the issues from those investors, and we still have around 300 trillion Indonesian rupiah investment that still need to be facilitated by us. Our strategy right now, through the issuance of Presidential Instruction number 7 of 2019, we have received the delegation of authority from 22 ministries and institutions, including business licensing, investment incentives, and exemption of import duty. Now, BKPM has been given mandate to have those authority in issuing investment licensing and incentives. And also President has given mandate to BKPM when FDI wants to do business in Indonesia, BKPM shall assist them to administer their licensing from central government and local government to make it easier for the foreign investors. With regard to the investment realization, Indonesia is now focusing on how to transform our economy from primary sector industry, and now we would like to focus on value-added basis industry, specifically on downstream industry. This is very important for our country. On another perspective, BKPM is also trying to boost investment coming from sectors of medical devices industry, because during COVID-19 pandemic, we experienced a lot of import of medical devices from abroad. Therefore, now we would like to approach investors in medical devices industry. We will open market domestically for those investors. Domestic market is our first priority. And also, we are trying to focus on energy sectors, how to create battery manufacturing industry. For example, the one that are planning by LG Chem and state-owned enterprises. We need to focus on downstream industry. That is our main focus. Manufacturing industry and infrastructure are also our focus. A couple of weeks ago, we heard that some global institutions put Indonesia in their radars. It is because Indonesia has abundant natural resources. We have nickel ore around 25% from the world's reserve. And also we have a large market. Indonesia contributes to more than 40% of ASEAN market. We need to do strategic efforts. First, President Joko Widodo had asked us to create industrial estate with a very competitive land price below 1 million Indonesian rupiah per meter. This is a very competitive land price compared to other locations in ASEAN region. So you want to provide easy entry for the investor by providing competitive land and also competitive wages of workers. And in Batang, it is under the national average wages in Batang. And its location is very close to exit toll access, around 500 meters. And also it will be closely connected to port and also railway that used to be used by Dutch government. I try to convince you that if foreign investor want to do business in Indonesia, when you arrive in airport, BKPM team will pick you up from the airport and will assist you as long as you give a serious intention. We will handle all the licenses and you just bring your capital, your technology and let us handle the licensing. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Her Excellency Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ibu Retno Marsudi, Chairman of Indonesia Investment Coordinating Board, Bapak Bahlil Lahadalia, and distinguished foreign media colleagues. It has been 2 months that Indonesia has implemented the zonation stratifications to monitor and evaluate risk of transmissions of every city, region across the country. With the system, we are able to designate a particular sector or areas to ease restrictions in stages based on accurate data calculated with indicators that fulfill public health criteria. Strict protocols are to be the main concern in priority industrial sectors and nature conservation. We can now call COVID-19 is such a clever virus, as the national death rate caused by the pathogens does not exceed 5% of the total positive cases. Nevertheless, the swift speed to transmit between one another, even in the asymptomatic patients, is something that draws us all shell-shocked. Therefore, data navigation and behavior change are the essence to mitigate the invisible threat. But here, to echo the beliefs of many investors across the world, risk comes from not knowing what you are doing. And now we know, and thus we can invest more of our time, our strength, our resources to conquer this virus province by province, district by districts, cities by cities, communities by communities, village by village, family by family, to mitigate the risk. Now I will answer questions from the media. The first question is from NHK, Morocco Press Agency. How to explain these upward trends in infections? When will it reach the peak in your assessment? If we see the trend of cases in Indonesia, the number is increasing gradually. And for the last several weeks, it's recorded that more than 1,000 confirmed cases are announced daily. However, we have to recognize that some areas of Indonesia are actively conducting testing. In addition, Indonesia is an archipelago country that has a varied number of confirmed cases. It has 514 districts and cities. Among those numbers, there are 104 districts and cities are in the green zone, meaning it has 0 cases or no new cases for more than 4 weeks. We are aware that COVID-19 is a global challenge. Therefore, we still persevere to protect Indonesia from the outbreak and the side effects of the disease by encouraging health protocols implementations for all sectors. As a gigantic archipelagic nation, one wouldn't be able to interpret much from the total nation's tally of COVID-19 cases. Consecutive data of each zone could yield much more of the dynamics of the current situations. Moreover, with distinctive background, the residents' way of life also differs one to another. Hence, every region requires a distinctive approach of intervention. Indonesia relies on the power and local wisdom of each region to collaborate with the central government in order to overcome the pandemic. Second question from NHK. Could you tell me if Indonesian government does PCR test to those who have possibilities of dying from COVID-19 like people in ODP conditions? If not, could you tell me why? Okay. According to our medical experts, PCR examinations is currently preferred to make the COVID-19 diagnosis. The world still relies on the results of the PCR lab, and other testing methods cannot confirm it. As Indonesia is still progressing in optimizing our test capacity, patients and people with close contacts with positive cases are still being prioritized for the PCR testing. The ethical matters in investigating a dead body is a delicate issue. In any case of the death, examining the underlying comorbidity in a particular patient is very important, having more significance than urging efforts for testing a dead body. It is also important to carefully analyze a patient's medical history, even their conditions before they are admitted. The third question from Moroccan News Agency. Are there any restrictions on Idul Adha to avoid an increase in contamination? Traditions will always be there, and religion-related gatherings have been embedded for generations within Indonesia community. This is a concern for us to help communities to adapt in the midst of the pandemic regarding social activities. The Ministry of the Religious Affairs has anticipated this by issuing a circular letter number 18/2020, which integrates Eid Adha activities with health protocols to prevent COVID-19. The letter has been circulated long before Idul Adha so that the community and the government can apply it on the celebration day. National religious movements such as PBNU, Muhammadiyah, and also MUI have been actively encouraging communities to adapt ways of worship in a COVID-19 safe environment. The fourth question from Mainichi Shimbun. Hundreds of scientists say coronavirus is airborne. Have you got confirmation from WHO? Upon hearing this update, we have also directly asked confirmation from WHO Indonesia. They cited that they have been actively engaged with a group of scientists since April. Research on airborne transmission is growing, but the evidence is not definitive. Airborne transmission is crowded, closed, and poorly ventilated settings cannot be ruled out. However, the evidence needs to be gathered and interpreted. WHO encourages further research in this area. Along with airborne transmission, we are looking at many other routes of transmission in collaboration with experts from many different fields. WHO will also summarize what they know in a scientific brief on transmission, which will be released soon. In the context of the COVID-19, airborne transmission may be possible in specific circumstances and settings in which procedures of support treatments degenerated aerosols are performed, i.e. inserting and removing endotracheal intubation, bronchoscopy, open suctioning, administration of nebulizers, invasive and non-invasive respiratory procedures, and cardiopulmonary resuscitation. A recent publication in the New England Journal of Medicine has evaluated virus persistence of the COVID-19 virus. In this experimental study, aerosols were generated using a 3-jet collision nebulizers and fed into Goldberg drum under the controlled laboratory conditions. This is a high-powered machine that does not reflect normal human cough conditions. Further, the findings of the COVID-19 virus in aerosol particles up to 3 hours does not reflect a clinical setting in which aerosol generating procedures are performed, that is, This was an experimentally induced aerosol generating procedures. So based on the available evidence, including the recent publication mentioned above, WHO continues to recommend droplets and contact precautions for those people caring for COVID-19 patients. WHO continues to recommend airborne precautions for circumstances in which aerosol generating procedures are performed according to risk assessment. These recommendations are consistent with other published guidelines, including those developed by the European Society of Intensive Care Medicine and Society of Critical Care Medicine, and those currently used in Australia, Canada, and United Kingdom. The fifth question from Mainichi Simbun. Indonesia's agriculture minister said that a necklace made from eucalyptus can help prevent transmission of COVID-19. Can you clarify that issue? The Ministry of Agriculture confirmed that the product was not claimed to be antivirus and has not yet had clinical trials nor scientific evidence to support it. At present, the study only discussed how eucalyptus is able to inhibit coronavirus replication in silico, which is in a computer simulations. So this is not SARS-CoV-2 virus. This is an early step in the discovery and development process, as only in vitro study has been performed so far. Indonesia has its own uniqueness, possessing cultural and ethical diversity, as well as diversity in natural resources. Plants-derived remedies cannot be separated from the lives of the Indonesians. This is also reflected in the people perceptions on handling COVID-19, where the herbal ingredients are believed to have a vital role to increase immunity of our people. Regarding this issue, I have mentioned in the press briefing last week that Indonesia will always hold scientific principles and prioritizes patient safety in developing COVID-19 treatment. The sixth question from NHK. The Bali Provincial Administration is preparing to welcome foreign visitors in September. Can you elaborate on the research or study as the basis of this decision? To update you on Bali's condition, up until the 6th of July, Bali Province has 1,900 confirmed cases, which incurs 2.9% of the national cases. There are 7 districts that fall into the medium risk of 2 into the high risk, with Denpasar City having the highest confirmed cases in the province. Bali has one of the highest testing rates at 8,870 per 1 million people, which comes third after Jakarta and West Sumatra. In addition, Bali has a higher recovery rate compared to the national number. Also, it is recorded that there are 5 districts and cities in Bali having 0 deaths due to COVID-19. Bali has been closely coordinating with the national government in order to carefully implement safe and productive activities. This week, Bali regional government has issued an updated circular letter specifically to update criteria designated only for travelers beside for tourism purposes. This is necessary in order to carefully screen and control people mobility at the province entrance. Welcoming foreign visitors and reactivating the tourism in Bali, I emphasize, is a plan. This plan is aimed to be conducted by the local government in September, and that is the 3rd stage of the reactivation. There is a strict preconditioning before that, which includes carrying out activities in a limited and selective manner only for the local sphere of the Balinese people starting July as the first step. This includes carrying out essential activities and prioritize sectors which is advised by the National Task Force. The second step is to carry out a larger step of activities that includes tourism only for national travelers, which will be decided by the Ministry of Tourism. In opening the tourism sector, resembling the economic sector, the government uses public health indicators in assessing the risk of the area in which the tourism will be opened. The opening of the tourism sector follows the development of the zoning status of the region. Areas with green and yellow zoning can begin to open up the tourism sector in stages with the implementation of the strict health protocols. Not only the indicators of the public health, crowd level assessment also determines what interventions will be implemented in a tourism sector. This is all the media questions for today. In closing, yesterday, one of the Indonesia journalists called Indonesia a liability to the region, to ASEAN and the Asia Pacific. We appreciate such a view, but we beg to differ. Indonesia is and has always been an asset to the region, to the world. To our neighbors, we are a family living next to them, who needs more time to pack if we go out of the house. To the world, we are one of their big brothers who will move their cheese. When we, along with China, India, and the EU and the US, get healthier, almost half of the world get better. So please allow me to quote a principle that Pak Bahlil Lahadalia and his peer shared. Never invest in a business you cannot understand. Invest in us, in Indonesia, only if you learn diligently about our progress and our context. So please, again, invest, and thank you. And now I would like to return this to Pak Bahlil. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to answer questions coming from journalists and media. First question is with regard to investment relocation coming to Indonesia from other countries that just been announced by the President of Republic of Indonesia. So right now, there are 7 companies that have been relocate their investment to Indonesia, also including from China. And some of the companies will enter groundbreaking phase in July. So these companies have been fulfilled. Also, we have facilitated them with regard to their location of investment. So in July, the groundbreaking phase will be conducted. In addition to that, we also have 17 companies that we are maintaining the communication with them, and the progress of their investment already reaching around 80%. And by the end of 2020, we expect that the investment licensing procedure will be accomplished. We also have intention coming from many countries, also from USA. And following their interest, we expect that to assist them in the very front gate, to assist them if they would like to do business in Indonesia. Second question, there is a question with regard to cooperation projects with China, such as the Jakarta-Bandung Fast Train, and the Batang Toru Hydroelectric Power Station. This question's coming from Channel News Asia. Let me explain. PT Kereta Cepat Indonesia China, or KCIC, is a foreign direct investment with foreign participation from China. The shareholders are PT Pilar Sinergi BUMN Indonesia, contributes to 60% of shareholders, and Beijing Yawan High Speed Railway, around 40%. They work in a project of passenger railroad transportation business with total investment realization in the first quarter of 2020, around 33.1 trillion Indonesian rupiah, or around 37% from the total investment plan of 89.3 trillion Indonesian rupiah. It employs a workforce of 15,000 people during construction phase and 2,000 people during commercial production. And also, with regard to PT North Sumatra Hydro Energy, it is a foreign direct investment company with foreign participation from Singapore. The shareholders are from PT Dharma Hydro Nusantara, around 52.86% ownership, PT Pembangkitan Jawa Bali Investasi, around 25.18% of ownership, and Far East Green Energy around 21.96% in South Tapanuli region or North Sumatra. The type of business is hydroelectric power, utilizing Batang Toru River with a capacity of 510 megawatt. In first quarter 2020, the total investment realization was 9.6 trillion Indonesian rupiah, or 44% from total investment plan of 21.6 trillion Indonesian rupiah. It employs a workforce of 1,500 people during construction phase and 100 people work in 2 shifts during commercial production. Moving on to the next question. How's Australian investment in Indonesia during the pandemic? Are there new investment plans? So this question is coming from Australian Financial Review. Please let me explain. So in the first quarter of 2020, Australia was the 10th largest foreign direct investors in Indonesia, with a total investment of $86 million and a total number of projects reaching 321. Those investments were mostly in the mining sector, around 64.6%, hotels and restaurants, around 25.5%, and other services, 4.2%. Meanwhile, since the start of 2020 until May, we have recorded that there are 17 companies from Australia who are interested in investing in Indonesia in several sectors such as education, hospitals, mining, agriculture, renewable energy, automotive industry, power plants, shipping, and battery component industry. In addition to the investment plans listed above, BKPM granted 15 licenses for foreign company representative offices in January to May 2020 period to explore investment opportunities in Indonesia. Next question. How is Andre Forest investment plan in Indonesia and how much is it worth? So this question is coming from Australia Financial Review. So the business field of their company is a hydropower plant and also export-oriented iron ore processing industry. The location is in North Kalimantan and in Papua province. So in North Kalimantan, we'll utilize Kayang River. There are 18,000 megawatt, and while in Papua, utilizing Membramo River, and as of June 26, 2020, there has been development. So the lead is the Coordinating Minister for Maritime and Investment Affairs. They're doing intensive communication with FMG, and all relevant stakeholders have been involved in the investment plan. But the value of the investment still cannot be disclosed as the negotiation process is still ongoing. However, it is imaginable how a hydropower plant can be built in an industrial location in a such remote area. So the consultant from FMG from Australia now already in Indonesia, and now we coordinate well with the provincial government in Papua and in North Kalimantan. So they show a very serious intention, and they really would like to realize their investment in Indonesia. Moving on to next question. With regard to the latest developments of foreign investment for the new capital in Kalimantan. So before COVID-19 hit, Tony Blair, Abu Dhabi, and SoftBank expressed interest in investing in new capital. Is still valid? And so we are still open to any options. Everything is still on the process. But due to COVID-19 pandemic, there has been some delay. But we will stick to the plan. However, the plan will be quite delayed. And last question, there is a question coming from CNA. Projects in Indonesia that have been stalled due to COVID-19. Are there any projects that have been stalled due to COVID-19? So from all companies that have given their intention to invest in Indonesia and also that has entering construction phase, there are no investment projects that have been stopped in Indonesia. It's just that some have been delayed. Please rest assured that Indonesia is a very great destination for investment because Indonesia has made a lot of reform, particularly with regard to investment licensing and regulation certainty. And we also have omnibus law that we expect to be issued in August. So we hope that we can speed up the process and give investors legal certainty. I think that's all from me. So I thank you very much for everyone, for media, and also Madam Minister for Foreign Affairs for this fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Pak Bahlil, for your presentation, as well as your response to some questions from the media. And thank you also, Pak Wiku, for responding to the question, and as usual, for your additional information related to COVID-19. I would like to quote what Professor Wiku mentioned in his last part of his briefing, that Indonesia will always be an asset for our neighbors and to the world. Our neighbors are like jewels. They come in many shapes and colors. Therefore, to see them, we need to wear neutral glasses. I should say, if you wear red glasses to see objects, you will only see red objects. But try to wear neutral glasses, then you will see that they are red, yellow, green, and many other colorful objects. These colorful objects will make our life more beautiful and peaceful. So please try. And it is evidence that Indonesia is and will always be part of the solution. So let me now close the briefing by answering questions related to foreign policy. First is on the question by Mainichi Simbun on the updates of Jamaah Tabligh. Colleagues, after a long wait, as well as our consistent and intensive effort, 50 Jamaah Tabligh from Indonesia have been released. 16 of them were repatriated to Indonesia last Saturday, 4th of July. Another 34 are also planned to be repatriated on the 17th July. Considering good relations between Indonesia and India, once again, Indonesia have requested to the Indian authorities to allow the rest of the Indonesian Jamaah Tabligh to return home. Now I would like to respond to a question by NHK and CCTV on the topic of the recent developments in Hong Kong with regards to security law and assignment of special task force. Colleagues, for sure, we continue to follow closely recent developments in Hong Kong, especially considering that over 174,000 Indonesian citizens work and live there. Indonesia recognizes that one country, two system principle that govern relation between mainland China and Hong Kong. At the same time, Indonesia underscore the importance of upholding and respecting the value of democracy and human rights. Indonesian Consulate General in Hong Kong will continue to closely monitor the situation in Hong Kong, and furthermore, they have also requested all Indonesian citizens living and working in Hong Kong to stay in touch with the Consulate General should they need any information or assistance. Next, I would like to respond to the NHK question on Indonesia's response to Chinese military drill in the South China Sea. Colleagues, Indonesia calls all countries to refrain from actions that may escalate tension in the region. Indonesia underlines the importance of all countries to contribute to maintaining peace and stability in the South China Sea, especially in time like this, where global collective efforts is vital in fighting COVID-19. Furthermore, we remain consistent in our call to all parties to respect international law, particularly the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS 1982. And lastly, I'll give updates on the topic of travel bubble as raised by Morocco Press Agency. Colleagues, the discussion on the essential business travel bubble with a number of countries are still going on. We have started exchanges our draft. We have also received feedbacks, and we will continue to work closely with them to finalize the arrangement. One thing for sure, that is also mentioned by Professor Wiku, our discussion have also covered strict and thorough health protocol in the arrangement. So colleagues, that is all my answer and our press briefing today. And I hope that I answer all the questions. Once again, terima kasih banyak Pak Bahlil, terima kasih banyak Professor Wiku, and thank you all of you for joining this week virtual briefing. Inshallah, I will see you next week. Stay healthy, stay strong, and stay united. Thank you very much.